Okay. Today's video is going to be a bit unorthodox. Hello everybody, my name's BP Nuzlocke, and today I'll be attempting to beat a Pokemon White 2 Hardcore Nuzlocke with only Ice-type Pokemon. However, those Ice types have been chosen by a random Pokemon generator as opposed to route encounters. So here is the team we generated. We have Mamoswine, Weavile, Delibird, Cryogonal, Beartick, and Walrein. It's a pretty cool team, and I'm actually super excited for this run, but I think Marshall will be super tough. Also, it looks like 96% of you handsome devils aren't subscribed, so if you enjoy this video, subscribe and leave a like as it really helps the channel out. Also, let me know below if you enjoy this type of run and what I should do next. Rules are always in the description below. I used the universal randomizer to change Snivy to Swinub, so our rival Pazu will end up with an Emboar, making this challenge even harder. We name our Swinub Everest, and today's nickname theme is super easy, but leave a guess anyway. Our journey nearly ends before it even starts, as we only beat Pazu by 1 HP. We aren't as lucky in the second fight, as I accidentally triggered the battle while underleveled, and to top it all off, Tepig's first tackle is a crit, bringing us to 11 HP straight away. It was looking somewhat winnable as he starts to spam tail whips, but unfortunately he was just playing with his food, as he finishes off Everest with one last tackle. Well, on to attempt 2. In attempt 2, however, we don't even make it past the first fight, as I guess Pazu's Tepig has a scope lens, because after its first tackle, it then proceeds to land 2 crits in a row, bringing us to attempt 3. In attempt 3, we make it past the first fight on 3 HP, and I actually get to level 9 before the second Pazu fight, just to make sure we win. But, of course, he lands another crit tackle.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
Even with hacks on his side, he decides to spam a bunch of tail whips, giving us free damage. When he finally attacks again, his tackle leaves Everest on 4 HP, but it's too little too late, as one last tackle of our own takes him out. New personal best achieved, let's do it. With the hardest fight out of the way, it's time to take on the first gym leader, Charon. Charon leads with Patrat as we start with Everest. We go for a Powder Snow as he sets up a workup. I'm praying for a freeze, but we don't get it as he lands a decent +1 tackle. But one last Powder Snow takes him out anyway, bringing in his Lillipup. This time I go for a Mud Slap, lowering Lillipup's accuracy as he misses his tackle. He outspeeds this time and lands a tackle as we drop his accuracy again with one more Mud Slap. This time he sets up a workup as we land a Powder Snow for little damage. He misses another tackle, allowing us to hit a bit more chip with Powder Snow, and thankfully we win the speed tie and one last Powder Snow takes out Lillipup, winning us the basic badge. With Charon defeated, I think it's time to get our second team member, and using some sweet hacking skills, I catch K2 the Sneasel. With a new friend on the crew, it's time to take on Roxy. I lead with K2 as she leads with Coughing. I land a Leer to make sure Feint Attack is a 2-hit KO, as Coughing lands a tackle doing little damage. I land a Feint Attack doing just over 50%, as Coughing uses tackle again. And with one more Feint Attack, Roxy is down to her Ace Whirlipede. I go for an Icy Wind to make sure Everest outspeeds, and to avoid Poison Point as I'll make Venoshock do double damage. She, however, avoids it both times with a double protect, but we do finally land an Icy Wind, doing little damage as she lands a Venoshock, and since Venoshock isn't doing much, I decide to go for one more Icy Wind just to be safe, as our next Venoshock brings K2 down to 12 HP. I switch into Everest as Whirlipede protects, giving us a free switch. She uses Protect again, blocking our Mud Slap, and she tries her luck at another double protect, but it fails and we land an accuracy drop for free. I go for another Mud Slap as she uses Pursuit, doing little damage. I go for Mud Bomb, narrowly missing the KO as she counterattacks with a Venoshock, doing a decent chunk of damage. I go for Powder Snow as she heals up with a Super Potion, and I go for another Powder Snow as she lands a Venoshock, and the damage is adding up. I go for a Mud Bomb and take a page out of Pazu's book, landing a crit as a Venoshock brings Everest down to 13 HP. I go for a Powder Snow since it can't miss, and that's enough to successfully earn us the second badge. Thankfully for that crit, otherwise I'm pretty sure we wipe there. Before Berg, I catch 2 new team members. I catch Cho the Spheal and Makalu the Delibird. I slap the Silk Scarf on the Makalu and teach it Attract, and now it's time to take on Berg. I start with Makalu as Berg leads with Swadloon. Makalu attracts his Swadloon as it lands a string shot. Makalu then hits a return, doing little damage as Swadloon uses string shot again. Swadloon now outspeeds but is immobilized by Love as we hit another return. He's immobilized yet again and I hit a present. Berg then heals as we land yet another return. He finally breaks through and hits a Razor Leaf, doing little damage as we land, well, you guessed it, another return. He gets immobilized by Love 2 turns in a row as 2 returns end this hellish battle. Next is Dwebble, who hits our team pretty hard with Smackdown, so I switch into Cho, who gets smacked down, doing a pretty huge chunk of damage. Cho hits Dwebble with a devastating water gun, as his Smackdown brings Cho to 16 HP. We have to switch so Cho doesn't die, so we bring in Everest. Everest does take some chip on the switch, but Icy Wind takes Dwebble out on the next turn. Next is Lavani, who kinda destroys my team, so I send in Makalu, who is the only one who can tank a Razor Leaf. Makalu, however, doesn't tank a cut very well, as it brings her down to 5 HP, but we landed a Tract. Now, I thought if I hit Thief, we would take the Citrus Berry and it would heal us, but that's not how it works, as we basically waste a turn doing very little damage. But luckily, Lavani is immobilized, giving us some leeway. He's immobilized again as we miss a present, and he's yet again immobilized, but we hit the present this time, proccing his Citrus Berry. He then finally realizes how toxic this relationship is and takes out Makalu with a Razor Leaf. K2 charges in, and thanks to our scope lens, we revenge Makalu with a crit Icy Wind, earning us the 3rd badge. We did lose Makalu, but to be honest, Delibird wasn't going to be too useful in the late game, so while it's sad, it was a necessary sacrifice. While on our way to Nimbasa City, we run into Colrus, who wants to see if we're cool enough to pass, so he challenges us to a battle, leading with his Magnemite, who Everest brings down to his sturdy with a Mud Bomb, as he retaliates with a huge Magnet Bomb. I go for Ice Shard, but he uses a Super Potion, but another Mud Bomb takes him out. Next is his Clink, so I bring in Cho, who tanks a Gear Grind. I was fully ready to lose Cho here, so I go for a Water Gun, but he just uses Charge. I then use Encore, locking him into Charge, and then I bring in Sneasel and use the Encore turns to set up 2 Hone Claws and then finish Clink off with 2 Feint Attacks. Now that we proved our worth to Colrus, it's time to walk the walk and take on Elisa. She starts with her Flying Rat Emolga as I start with Everest. And Everest hates Picker Clones, so he one-shots Emolga with a crit Ice Shard. Next is Zeb Striker, and I go for Dig as Zeb Striker uses Pursuit, doing not too much damage. We come landing the Dig, proccing the Citrus Berry. I go for another Dig, but before we can hide in the ground, she lands a Flame Charge, bringing Everest to just 8 HP. Thankfully, one last Dig takes out her ace. She then brings in Flaffy, so I switch into K2, who tanks a takedown on the switch and one-shots Flaffy with a crit Feint Attack the next turn. Man, Pazu must have blessed us with the crit gods this fight. After Pazu assaults Team Plasma, both Cho and Everest evolve, and using red shards, I teach K2 Ice Punch. These are huge upgrades, and with our new team, I'm pretty confident in beating Clay. Clay starts with Krokorok, who intimidates our lead K2, so I set up a Hone Claws and he uses Torment. Since I can't set up again, I just go for an Ice Punch and it obliterates Krokorok, bringing in his ace Excadrill. I get insanely lucky as I switch into Everest as he misses a Rock Slide, which would have chunked us hard. He hits a Slash, doing a bit of damage as Everest goes underground. We come back up doing solid damage, proccing his Citrus Berry. He then hits a Metal Claw, bringing Everest to 19 HP, but Everest wins this bout, taking out his Excadrill with another Dig. Clay then brings in Sandslash, who hits Cho on the switch with a Crush Claw, doing pretty decent damage and lowering Cho's defense. He then lands a crit rollout as we hit him with a super effective Aura Beam. I was ready to lose Cho here, but he misses his next rollout, allowing Cho to hit a Water Gun and get us our 5th badge. We become the Driftveil champion, get thrown off a boat, and Everest evolves into Mamoswine. With all that out of the way, we can take on the 6th Gym Leader Skylar. And in theory, Skylar should be easy, but we actually only hit one of her Pokemon for super effective, that being Swoobat. And honestly, Swanna is kinda terrifying. It hits Mamoswine for super effective and does pretty good damage to Cho and Sneasel, since Sneasel is very brittle and Cho can't do much damage to it. But
let's just jump in.
I start with K2, who one-shots her lead Swoobat with an Ice Punch. She brings in Skarmory, and since I don't want K2 to get smashed by a Steel Wing, I switch into Cho. And since Skarmory doesn't have a great special defense stat, 2 Surfs take it out. Last is her Swanna, and half of her moves are actually status moves, so I bet on her either using Feather Dance or Aqua Ring, as I use Encore and thankfully she uses Feather Dance, so now she's locked in. Once the Encore ends, she's in potion range from our Aurora Beams, giving me another free Encore, and 3 more Aurora Beams take her out. Man, they weren't joking when they said Encore is OP for Nuzlocks. We fly over to the next town where Cho evolves into a Walrein, and we run into Pazu again who wants to battle us. He starts with an Unpheasant who detects Everest's first Ice Fang but falls to a second one. He brings in Simipour who can destroy Everest with a Scald, so I switch into Cho as he lands a Leer. I waste a turn by using Encore as we just lock him into Scald and he gets the burn, which is less than ideal. I hit him with a Bulldoze as Scald isn't doing much damage, but then on the next turn he lands a crit, and with the burn chip, Cho is left on 11 HP. I hate switching here, but I have no choice as I bring in Everest. Simipour does insane damage, but without the burn and with the Bulldoze drops, we now outspeed and Simipour is one shot with a Bulldoze. Bringing in his starter Ember, who Everest brings to red HP with the Bulldoze, and for the first time in forever, he doesn't crit and the takedown recoil takes him out. With Pazu defeated, we have a clear shot to Drayden, who is probably the easiest battle in this run. He starts with Drugagon, who lives in Ice Fang but tickles Everest with the Slash as 2 Ice Shards finish it off after a potion. Next is Flygon, and 1 Ice Shard is more than enough to take it down. And last is his ace, Haxorus, who also barely lives in Ice Fang as he lands a Dragon Tail, bringing in Cut the Patrat. God damn it, that's 2 runs in a row, man. He uses Slash as I switch into Cho and finish him off with an Ice Fang. Now that was pretty easy. After cleaning the streets of Team Plasma, I grind out the city tourneys, and after getting enough BP for Swords Dance and Razor Claw, I evolve K2 into a Weavile. Nothing really interesting happens, so let's just jump to the last gym. Marlin starts with Caracosta as we start with Cho, who lands a Bulldoze as Caracosta uses Shell Smash. But thanks to the speed drop, we land an Encore, locking him into Shell Smash, bringing him to -6 defense by the time we land another Bulldoze, which allows us to finish Caracosta off. Next is Wailord, and I don't want to seem like a one-trick pony, but we land a Bulldoze as he uses an Amnesia.
It's free. Real estate.
We're giving you land.
It's free.
We're giving you a house.
It's real estate. Free.
It's a free house for you, Jim.
So I use an Encore, locking him into Amnesia. This gives me a free switch into K2 and a free Swords Dance as Night Slash one-shots Wailord and Jellicent. That might have been easier than Drayden, to be honest. You know what isn't easy though? Colress. While Everest should just win, his Magneton and Magnezone both have Sturdy, so we have to make a plan. I start with Cho and set up a Hail straight away as he lands a Thunder Wave with Magneton. I bring in Everest who can't get hit by Volt Switch, and thanks to the Hail chip, an Earthquake one-shots Magneton. Next is Magnezone who lives a crit Earthquake thanks to the Sturdy, and it brings Everest to just a mere 21 HP, but thankfully it falls due to the Hail damage. He brings in Metang, but it doesn't have Sturdy, so it falls to a single Earthquake. He then brings in Belgium, I think that's how you say it, as I switch into K2 who easily one-shots it with the Night Slash. Kling Klang is next, so I switch into Cho as he sets up a Shift Gear. He gets greedy and sets up another Shift Gear, so we land an Encore and switch into K2 who freely gets 2 Brick Breaks off, beating Colress. That was pretty scary, and I don't know if we would have won without Hail and Encore, so Cho was kind of the carry. Now with Colress out of the way, we have to separate Kyurem and Reshiram, and K2 does this pretty easily with 3 Brick Breaks. This triggers Jetsis, who comes at us with his Cofagrigus, who starts off with Protect, allowing K2 to set up a Swords Dance. Night Slash then takes out Cofagrigus and Seismitoad. Toxicroak then falls to an Ice Punch. He brings in Electros, who falls to another Night Slash. His Drapion barely lives an Ice Punch and retaliates with an X-Scissor, but it doesn't even bring us into the red as Ice Punch finishes him off after some healing. Last is his Hydreigon, who falls to an Ice Punch, and with that, Team Plasma is disbanded once again. Before heading to the victory road, we catch Nada the Cubchoo and Rim the Cryogonal. We run into Pazu for the last time as he starts with a Pheasant as we start with Everest, who barely misses the KO with Ice Fang as he U-turns into Simipour. I switch Cho into the Surf, taking little damage. He hits us with the Brick Break but isn't doing too much damage either as I Bulldoze to lower its speed. I land another Bulldoze as Brick Break brings us into the red. I switch into Everest as Simipour lands a rock slide, but thanks to the speed drops, we outspeed Simipour now and one-shot it with Earthquake. Earthquake also one-shots Embor. Buffalant does live in Earthquake and retaliates with a head charge, bringing Everest to 16 HP, but another Earthquake takes it out. He brings in Unpheasant and heals it straight away, but 2 Ice Shards take it out, beating Pazu for the last time. With the victory road cleared, we head straight to the Elite Four, where we take on Chantel first, as she seems the easiest. She starts off with Cofagrigus, as I start off with K2. I set up a Sword Stance as she hits us with a puny Shadow Ball. I set up another Sword Stance. This time though, she burns us with Will-O-Wisp, but I have a Rawsberry curing the burn. From here, it's Night/City as it takes out Cofagrigus, Golurk, Chandelure, and Driftblim. Man, K2's kind of a machine. Next is the Psychic Elite Four member Caitlyn, and K2 once again has an awesome matchup. She starts off with Musharna as we start with K2 and set up a Sword Stance as Musharna hits us with the Charge Beam. Night Slash then one-shots Musharna, Runecliffe, Gothitelle, and Sigalith, making it another easy sweep for K2. Next up is Grimsley, and I promise you the strat is different. This time, we're gonna spam Brick Break. Leopard starts the battle off with a fake out flinching K2. We then set up a Sword Stance as Aerial Ace does a little damage. And yeah, so it begins. Brick Break, then one-shots Leopard. Brick Break, then one-shots Scrafty. Brick Break probably one-shots like 12 million Bishops. And then lastly, Brick Break one-shots Crocodile. And making it, another pretty quick Elite Four battle. Our fun is quickly ruined, however, as now it's time for Marshall. I start with Cho as Marshall starts with Throw. I go for a Bulldoze as he lands a Rock Tomb. I then land a Surf, which is doing a bit more damage, as he lands his own Bulldoze. I go for another Bulldoze to keep him out of potion range as he lands another Rock Tomb. And with one last Surf, we take out Throw. Next is Menshao, who takes Cho's life with a high jump kick, giving us our second death. I bring in Rim, who I taught Protect just for this battle. With Protect, Menshao misses high jump kick, doing 50% of its own HP. I try to get a second Protect, but it fails and high jump kick one-shots Rim. That was his first and only battle, but he did what he needed, as I bring in Nada, who also has Protect, baiting the high jump kick again, making him take himself out with Crash Recoil. He then brings in Conkeldurr, who Nada charms, lowering his attack by 2, allowing Nada to take a Hammer Arm and let him use another charm before going down to one last Hammer Arm. We just lost both of our new team members, but it's a necessary evil as we bring in Everest. Everest lands an Earthquake that does just under 50%, as Hammer Arm still really hurts even at -4. Our next Earthquake brings him down to a Slither, proccing his Citrus Berry, but one last Earthquake finally takes out Conkeldurr, and last is his Sork. We have to make another sacrifice as Everest barely misses the KO on Sork as it lands a Brick Break, taking out our starter Everest. I finally bring in the big chief herself, K2, and an Ice Punch brings Sork to the yellow after Marshall heals. And one last Ice Punch finishes Sork off. We went from 1 death to 5, meaning K2's gonna have to solo Iris. It's all on K2's back now, as she's our last Pokemon left. Iris starts with Hydreigon, as K2 lands a super effective Ice Punch, taking it out. Druggadin suffers the same fate as she brings in Haxorus, who does live an Ice Punch but only thanks to its Focus Sash, as it sets up a Dragon Dance. She can't, however, live the next Ice Punch even with healing, as we quickly shut down the sweep. Next is Archeops, who could never dream of taking an Ice Punch. She then sends an Aggron and K2 hits it hard with a Brick Break, but it doesn't one-shot as it sets up an Automize. But since K2 is a speed demon, we still outspeed, landing another Brick Break, finishing Aggron off. Bringing in her last Pokemon Lapras, who falls to 2 Brick Breaks, meaning K2 was all we needed for this fight, as she wins us the Pokemon White 2 Hardcore Nuzlocke with only Ice types. That run was a lot of fun, as Ice types are one of my favorites, and it was pretty challenging with Colress and Marshall. If you made it to the end, I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys either next week or the week after, depending on how busy I am. But with that, have a lovely day, and I'll see you all next time.